Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Do you ever play acoustic guitar?
Yeah.
Do you?
I've got 2 or 3 of them around the house.
Yeah, okay.
Why, you want to come by and jam?
I don't play, man. Are you kidding me?
But Ken, you are never too old to learn.
I know. My dog has, please.
Yeah.
All right, you can put that down if you want, now that it's tuned. Leave it close, though.
It's somewhat tuned.
All right. So you got headphones right next to you, I believe, or right around.
Do I need headphones?
It's up to you if you don't want them. Put the microphone up in front of you, though, like a big...
Okay, you just tell me when it's good.
All right, turn it toward you.
I don't really...
Yeah, no, turn it up toward you. Get comfortable.
You mean like I'm on stage or something?
Yeah, well, I mean... Not quite on stage, but...
well, this is a stage of its own. You know
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're on the Ken Calvert Show, man.
Well, Ken, I've never had the pleasure.
We've never gone one-on-one.
No.
We have never done one-on-one, ever.
We never have.
As a matter of fact, going back, well, I'm just going to say, forget it. Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert, along with Wally Palmar, founding member of the Romantics, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Podcast, the cozy studios of WKEN, where every day is the weekend. How you like that? Is that pretty good?
I think that's great.
Yeah,
Ken.
that's strong. All right, now here's a funny story.
Do you realize, first of all, I'm to start that, it cost me $1.50 to get here with Uber. You know?
We have to explain that. You have to explain that. Wally Palmar is my neighbor by probably less than a block away.
Yep.
What would you guess? A block?
A snowball's throw.
Yeah, in the good old days.
In the good old days, right.
So Wally Palmar and I, as a couple of guys just living in the neighborhood, I used to walk my dog Tug, and Wally would accuse me of letting my dog dump on his front lawn, which is not true. He would take a leak on his front lawn, but he would never take a dump, and if he did, I would clean it up. But what we would do is when you were out of town, I always knew that Wally Palmar and the Romantics were on the road because of the fact that your newspapers would be at the end of the driveway. So we would put them up in the front door on the front porch so the house didn't look like nobody was home.
That was you that did that.
Yes,
well, eternal thanks to you.
Yeah, so pull the microphone a little closer.
Okay.
No, pull the mic instead of you having to lean in.
No, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm fine.
So we've been talking. Wally Palmar, founding member of the Romantics, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's, one of 4 of us from the east side of Detroit, Ken.
Yeah, I'm not sure many people know the backstory of the Romantics. It started in, I'm going to guess, 1977.
Officially started on paper, and it made for great press. People say, "Oh, the Romantics, they formed on Valentine's Day of 1977," which was pretty much accurate. We were together, the 4 of us, in a different form of a band prior to that in 75 and 76 that didn't function, that didn't work out the way we wanted it to. So, but we were involved with one another back then. But officially, the Romantics formed in 77. Myself and Rich from the Hamtramck area, right? I went to school in Hamtramck there. Jimmy and Mike from the east side. I think they went to Finney or something like this on the east side there. Yeah. And we used to see each other at all the at all the shows coming through town. So obviously,
where were you hanging out when you'd see the shows?
Wherever shows were at that point. I mean, I remember going to see shows at
Easttown.
Definitely Easttown, Ford Auditorium. Masonic Temple.
Right.
There
Cobo,
was the
of course.
Grande Riviera. Once the Grande closed, went to the Grande Riviera, and then...
what about the Grande Ballroom? Is that the same thing?
I was there one time.
Yeah. That's, you know what?
I was there once, and
people
then
always ask me
about
about my memories of the Grande. I was only there a few times.
Yeah.
2 which I really remember. One a little fuzzy.
Yes,
but that was because of the second floor, that balcony up there.
Of course, the dangerous second floor.
That's where you want folks to. You had a need for something that would just make the concert a little better.
That much better.
Yeah.
Whereas if you went to the East Town, you didn't have to go to the second floor. As soon as you walked in the door, it was, you were ready to go at that point.
Wally Palmer's my guest, the Romantics, the early days. What was the name of your band back in the early days? Your first band, Wally Palmer? Yeah.
My first band, I believe I still have cards we had printed out for it back then, business cards. The Lynx.
With an X, I bet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
And that was the name of the very first. But you're talking grade school, though.
Well, yeah.
7th, 8th grade.
Yeah, because
67, 68.
Because the Beatles were happening, the Stones were happening. Every kid in grade school wanted to be in a band. The Kinks.
Let me give you
the British Invasion.
Ken, you know what? Let me give you a quick lowdown of that period of time.
Okay.
Living in Hamtramck, for instance, just a typical hot summer night, which we've had quite a few this past couple of months here now, right?
Yeah.
Transistor radio, laying out on the front porch because it's so hot, no air conditioner or nothing.
Right.
Going between CKLW and WKNR.
Sure, Keener 13.
Right, and listening and listening and absorbing. Going to school, come home from school, 4 o'clock, swinging time.
Robin Seymour.
Right. Later on,
I
think Where the Action Is was also on after that.
It was on. It was on Channel 7, I think, at 4 o'clock. It was part of the Dick Clark, or one of his productions.
Right.
But, yeah.
That's during the week.
Paul
Saturday,
Revere, I believe, was the house band. Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Were for Where the Action Is.
Yeah.
Here comes Saturday. The weekend, you've got American Bandstand on. So you're watching that, absorbing, listening, everything. And we were able to catch this show called Upbeat, even out of Ohio.
Uh-huh.
And Ohio shows on Channel 50 or something. I don't know. At any rate, watching all these shows, absorbing, listening to radio, absorbing everything. Here comes Sunday night, Ed Sullivan.
Oh.
After listening to all this stuff, now you're starting to see bands and, different, whether it be, the Four Seasons or, everybody else, Elvis prior to that, but here come the Beatles and that. And you finally get a visual on these guys. Mm-hmm. That's one Sunday. And then that point, then right after that, it's like, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And also you're accumulating all this knowledge and absorbing everything. And then next week here you got the Stones on there, and then the Kinks and the Who and all this. I go, you got to be kidding me. So it was a fantastic. And then you've got all the Motown stuff. You see all these Detroit bands and the Motown bands on swinging time, and as you visually see them, how they're dressed, you hear the songs and everything, and it's just like I said, one giant sponge that sits on top of your shoulders. You absorb everything, and eventually I said, this is what I want to do. Go play guitar, take lessons for a little while, to learn the basics, which I did. And after a while, they just weren't teaching what I wanted. I wanted to learn how do you play this Yardbird song? How do you play the Kinks?
Well,
show me this.
Yeah, but you're talking Jimmy Page, bro.
But but we had Mel Bay, I think was the name of the book to go by. And sure, you did that. You learned the basics. I stopped taking lessons. My parents bought me the guitar and amp, and they got really grossed out and pissed off because I stopped going to take lessons. Wasted all this money on this, and so whatever. And so that was the coming up, and then slowly starting to to go see shows in the area. One of the first shows was like that I saw, and Mike Skill was at that show because we've talked about it too. It was like Iron Butterfly, Chambers Brothers, and Sly and the Family Stone.
Where?
Ford Auditorium.
Oh, that sounds like a Grandy show, actually.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Wait a minute. Iron Butterfly and the Chambers Brothers?
Yeah.
All right, now think about this for a second.
Yep.
The Chambers Brothers, I used to say this, you could book the Chambers Brothers and just have them do Time.
Sure.
Because that was like a 9-minute song.
Easy.
And Inagata DeVito was like at least a 9-minute song. So it could be like, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, your headliners will be out in one moment here.
Well, they would do but then I think they started out doing like Can't Turn You Loose or something, and as an introduction to everybody in the band, and then there you go, Time, and there's your show, there's your half hour.
And Inagata DeVito, it was like
another 20 minutes.
It was like a guy who was hammered who couldn't say "in the
Yeah.
Garden of Eden," right?
Right,
It was
exactly.
like, in the Garden of Eden, baby.
And if I'm not mistaken,
Don't you know
Ken,
that I love you? Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that was one of the times that Sly actually did show up to the show.
I remember seeing Sly
And
once.
I say that very lovingly and jokingly.
I know, but I remember him in a dog collar with a leash, and I think that was at the Palladium or one of the places. I think Birmingham. They took the teen center.
Well, we were
Punch
so
Andrews, Bob Seger's manager,
yeah.
took over this place called the Teen Center and made it the Palladium, and he brought in some big bands. I'm going to cross over for a second
Yeah,
and say
sure.
the first one I saw, first big name I saw was Ian Whitcomb, who had a song called "You Really, Billy, you really turn me on." Right?
Right, yeah.
So I'm a kid, and I ride my bicycle up to 13 Mile in Southfield, Michigan, Oakland County, Michigan, and I ride up there, and Punch is managing that place as well. And so I drive up, and this guy gets out of a van, and he's wearing like a Beau Brummel shirt, man, and a corduroy jacket, and he's smoking a cigarette, and I was like, "That's Ian Whitcomb." And so I remember the door was open because the crowd was so full and I remember hearing that song, the piano, that piano beat, and it was like, man, I'm all in, and that's when I knew for sure that I wanted to do radio because I was listening to the Big Eight. I was listening to Keener 13. I was following along with these bands. My life changed the night in February 1964 when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan. And so, you and I are like cut from the same cloth, man, the same DNA, right?
Couldn't pick a better city, in my opinion, to grow up in, and a better city for music.
How about Bob Seger?
Seeger, we used to see. Well, that goes. We just hit on one half of it.
Yeah.
We'd see. You'd see Seeger, Mitch Ryder, the Amboy Dukes, and eventually the MC5 and the Stooges, the Rationals. You'd see all because they would be able to get on Swingin' Time because they had singles out at that time, and albums too. But still, they had songs that were getting played, so they were getting a lot of TV time too. I'm saying it was just a great time to grow up.
Oh, I know, yeah. Well, I remember Respect by the Rationals.
Sure.
And I met Scotty Morgan back in 1969 for the first time, 70. I moved up to and lived in Ann Arbor, and I met him, and I was like, oh my, I'm in the presence of a major rock star. And he was just like a really normal guy. And to this day, he still is. He's just a great, great guy. And he had such a great voice. He still does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I remember he also followed up Respect with a ballad called I Think I Need You.
I Need You, right?
Yeah, that was a great song.
I've got that down the street if you ever want to borrow it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Is that legal nowadays, though? Or what do they call that? Streaming? Or
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I could go to Spotify or one of
Respect. I kind of borrowed from Scott's from his harmonica solo for the his harmonica break in there. I kind of borrowed a little bit of the feel for that for
I used to play
What I Like About You.
Play softball with those guys up in Ann Arbor, and a couple of guys from the MC5 were really, really talented baseball players.
Oh, they were? Yeah.
But nobody could talk about that because sports were not cool. You didn't talk about sports 68, 69, 70, man. You were all in on rock and roll, and that was just it, and you did not go outside the ropes.
I actually was doing a little bit of that because I played baseball in the summers up until I was about 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
I played.
Well, we all played
American Legion, and that was it for me.
Oh, you really, wow, you went the distance. Well, all right.
But I kept getting further and further. They used to sit me further and further down at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
Where at one point there was no room at the end of the bench. So I guess this must be time for me to maybe pick up the guitar again.
Romantics, 1977. You get together with a crew of guys. You decide to wear some red leather suits, right? Was it the Rooster Tail, by the way?
Well, the Rooster Tail, we did play there, but that wasn't really...
As the Romantics, what was your coming out party?
We opened for Rob Tyner's MC5 over, I think, My Fair Lady, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And if one of the other guys hears this, they'll probably reprimand me and stuff. But
Good.
I remember
Well,
playing
they better hear it.
that in Mink DeVille. We opened for them.
Really?
At I think My Fair Ladies, a place on Jefferson somewhere. And there were, a few other shows there. Eventually, we moved and did some shows over at Bookies for, quite a stretch
Great
there.
venue.
Where we really kind of honed our craft, if that's a correct terminology.
No, it is. And,
and
that was a quiet but very cool venue. That was on 6 Mile, wasn't it?
6 Mile, just off of Woodward.
Yeah.
Right, and then... the one we finally got a big shot when we opened for, it was at the Silverdome had just opened, right?
Yeah.
And we were on it about, I don't know, it seems like it was bright light in there and people were still walking around and it seemed like we may have been the official sound check. The show was for Peter Frampton.
Wow.
Jay Giles and Steve Miller, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So we were on there. Like I said, there was nobody in the seats or nothing, but we got a chance to play the Silverdome.
Right.
And of course, whenever we told everybody, we said, "Man, it was jammed. It was great."
It was packed.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, security was overwhelmed. When did you co-wrote, or did you write What I Like About You?
No. You have to. When we were.
I'm glad you're correcting me, by the way.
Yeah. No. It's fine. It's co-writing, which if you take a look at all the Romantics albums, there's song credits go to the songwriters there, which is there's essentially a group of 3 or 4. What we do, you sit, what we did, sat in a room. Whoever had an idea for a song or something and wasn't ashamed to bring it forth to everybody else, because we were trying out all kinds of ideas. We were trying out we started out doing a lot of cover songs to see where this band, what we did best, to find the right niche for ourselves. And then we found out that we did a lot of, that we did old rock and roll really well. We found out that we did a lot of British Invasion songs really well, and even some Motown and R&B songs. So the writing as we started the group, we had to start to write our own songs to form our own identity as a band in that, and we accumulated, God knows, 15, 20 songs over a 2 3 year span. And What I Like About You, I remember Mike had the idea for it, coming up with the intro chords and stuff, and then playing those, and then banging out the 3 chords in the middle. Then we all sat down behind our instruments, started playing it, and and each guy in the Romantics was a very capable singer on their own. Because we were able to pull off.
When did you know
3-part harmonies in that?
When did you know you had an anthem?
We kept working. What I Like About You was part of our live show. When we first came up with the idea, probably back in maybe, let's just say, 78 at some point.
Right.
And from 78 till 79 till we recorded the first album in 1979 in I think it was August or so of that year. The song was getting either more streamlined or it was kind of sorting itself out.
Yeah.
So it went through its changes till we went to go and record the song.
Yeah.
Then you go and record it. I mean, there's just magic just captured right there.
Yeah.
Right in the studio.
You recorded it in Detroit?
No. No, that album was recorded down in Florida at a studio called Coconuts.
Okay.
Which no longer exists.
All right.
And it was during a hurricane. They had a hurricane there, Hurricane David.
Okay.
I think was the one in 1979. And I remember because we were recording and we had to stop recording because of power fluctuations and everything else. But that album was recorded down there. I mean, we did many demos here in Detroit.
Yeah.
Many.
Where'd you record when you were in Detroit, by the way, just real quickly?
We did something at United Sound, which was Little White Lies, and I can't tell you anything. We did a couple different versions of that.
So getting back to What I Like About You. So you're in Florida, and...
What we had a record label. right? Which and we finally got signed,
To
and prior to this, we just had our management and the guys in the band and a booking agency that was helping us find shows here, DMA.
But what I'm trying to get back to is the fact that you finally get to a stage where you have the version of What I Like About You, and you cut that at Coconuts in Florida.
Right. That, along with 12 other songs, let's just say, for that first album.
Right.
And the producer is there. We did pre-production. Even at pre-production, we were still trimming, for instance, that song.
Right.
I can play. There's a version of What I Like About You from Bookies from that same year, I think. And you can hear the difference because there was a little, before the harmonica break, there was a bass, a little bit of not a bass solo, but a lead into the harmonica break with bass, and that got chopped out.
Really?
You know, so there were changes being made up until we went to go and record the actual song. Once and we gave every song every ounce of what we had in us to make this as best as possible, because you never know, this could be your only break, to do something on this level,
right?
With record label power behind you and everything. And
so this was going to be She Loves You, yeah. This was going to be Can't Get No Satisfaction, or it could be the last time.
Well, don't forget, Ken, there were also like 10, 11 other songs or more that we had done that we were hoping that each one of those was going to be,
She Loves You.
We were hoping that the first album was going to be a greatest hits album.
Right. Oh, well, all bands do that. All bands do that.
Exactly. That's what they shoot for.
But you nailed it with What I Like About You.
It was a great performance.
Yeah.
All the way around. Jimmy, great performance there. Mike, great performance. Rich, myself. I mean, everything just worked.
Vocals after music together, pancaked. How did you do it?
The recording is the backtracks. All the instrumentation was done first. With a vocal guiding the band.
Right.
Yeah, but
and then headphones on, and you're listening, and all of a sudden it's like dun dun dun.
We're in the room playing,
and all of a sudden you all go, "Hey!" Right?
That may have been. I'm not sure if that we may have had that in that first, but we embellished it a little bit, to make it sound better.
Studios are amazing, aren't they?
Absolutely,
you can do some stuff in studios. So we'll listen to that right now, and I want to talk to you coming out of it. Here it is, 2018. 40 years later, What I Like About You is still powerful and holding up and doing really, really well. Hello, I'm your host, Ken Calvert, and at this point you should be hearing What I Like About You by the Romantics. I had Wally Palmer's permission as the co-writer of the song, but after doing research, I was told that I would be charged or fined $150,000 if I were to play that song. So enjoy the break music and pretend that you're hearing it right now, okay? Bop, 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 bop. What I Like About You. Hey, nothing but greatness, and I have to have your permission that we just played that, because otherwise, the streaming police are going to come after me like you read about. You're on the label as one of the writers, correct?
Yes.
So I have your permission.
Sure.
With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we can continue. Talking in Your Sleep. Who wrote that? How did that come about?
It was the same type of situation, where we had actually a good story about that one was that was actually the last song to be completed for that album, the album entitled In Heat, which was our fourth album.
Great title.
It was the last song to be completed. Wasn't finished. Our producer and talked to us, we sat down and said, we still have this track, and it's a really good track. We owe it to ourselves to finish this off. Let's put our heads together, and within the next day or two, everybody went their own ways. We came back. All of a sudden, there was a title. There was the pre-chorus was set. The melody and everything else. Bottom line is, we came back a couple days later, finished it off. Last song done for that album, and it turned out to be the lead track off that album.
Wow.
A little different from what I like about you, you know.
And I think that's why radio embraced it, that you guys could stretch the field. That song sort of moved it for you guys from one level to another, that you were capable of doing more than just What I Like About You.
I mean, we didn't realize that. I mean, a couple months after it came out, it really was picking up a lot of steam, but especially internationally, right? And then eventually, I mean, here in the United States, I think it was a top 5 song.
Yeah.
On the charts at that point.
Was that bigger than What I Like About You?
Well, it's hard to say, you know, what do you mean bigger, though?
Well, I mean, in terms of chart placement, I could look it up. I don't know.
If you're just talking chart placement, I think that
What
I Like About You broke into the top 40.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if it went into the 30s or not. Or
really?
whatever.
It was not a top 10
No, at that
single on
point,
Billboard?
we broke the top 40. My Sharona was number 1. We barely broke the top 40.
Very similar bands, by the way. And also...
Guys out of Detroit.
You're talking about
well, at
guys
least one
out
guy
of,
from the NAC
out
of Detroit.
Doug Feiger.
Right. So this, I mean, this brought us out to Japan and not back out to Australia, but out to Europe doing a lot of promotional TV shows.
Yeah.
When that song came out. Then eventually it got picked up. The idea was to have Jelly Bean Benitez, who did all the Madonna remixes and stuff. The dance mixes?
I guess. I was.
CBS said, here, take the song, give us a dance mix. Dance mix shot up the charts, too, in the R&B charts. All of a sudden, we're in L.A.
Talking in Your Sleep did this.
Yeah.
Huh.
And all of a sudden, we're in L.A. and we get a call that said, you guys are slated to be on Soul Train in 2 weeks or something, or next week, or whatever. Soul Train. How? Well, but like I said, the song was climbing the R&B charts or the dance charts.
Yeah.
One of the two, whatever. And in the regular charts, it's a top 5 song. Here it's going up to R&B, the dance charts, so this has become a pretty big song, too. And, chart-wise, they got us around quite a bit.
Yeah, it made you a couple of bucks as well. Paid for the red leather suits.
Well, it's weird, because that song, for instance, in England, didn't chart at all. It took an English band called Bucks Fizz to re-record Talking in Your Sleep.
And they
put it out. Theirs went top 5.
Yeah, they had a hit. That's amazing. But you, as the band, got the royalties on their benefit.
You got some. Yeah, we got some.
Yeah. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Again, it's Wally Palmer from the Romantics, still intact. The band's still out there killing it. About to do a cruise, about to go to Australia, October 21st through October 28th.
Yes.
But I just happened to notice that on your tour schedule, so I'm not hawking for seats on that cruise, but you'll be on that cruise with Foreigner.
Yes, Foreigner is the official headliner there.
And then you guys are like sort of right underneath it there, though.
Yeah, I guess.
So nothing wrong with that. I'm obsessed with What I Like About You for another reason. Because of the fact that so many commercial products have used that song to support what they're selling. Does that benefit you guys as writers? Do you run to your mailbox and go, oh, goody, goody, goody?
Well, in a far-off way, but I think
your mailbox isn't that far from your front door.
No, it's not. It's got the slot right there.
It's right there.
So you pick it up with a hand will come out and reach for the check, right? No, you're absolutely right. Though we've gotten, I think it started with Bud Light was the first.
Yeah,
were the first ones to be active on that song and use it as part of their campaign.
Yeah,
and then everybody from like Knott's Berry Farm to
I think like
Ford, I think may have used it, and
I remember seeing something like for SeaWorld or something. I mean, one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then
it's like Iggy with Lust for Life.
Yep.
Did that cruise liner thing that, I got a lust for life. I
mean, it's one of those songs, it's like just when you think you've heard the last of it, here it is again, pops up somewhere else. No, because with there was that television show titled "What I Like About You" too, and it wasn't our version that was played as the intro.
Sure.
It was an all-girl band. I will think of it slowly here.
Well,
It'll come back into
rock
play.
and roll does that to us, folks. It does it to us. It's sort of
Or, for instance, Ken,
past mistakes.
you know as well as I do that there were times during sporting events where you go to a timeout or something.
Yep.
Boom, there's What I Like About You.
Well,
it got to be.
That's a real fine line, which I would like to investigate sometime, because I know that technically, given ASCAP, BMI, royalties, all that, folks, this is a subset to this conversation with Wally, but it's completely changed for these guys because of streaming, Spotify, Pandora, everything else. You guys get perfectly clear, new versions of these great songs, basically no cost, but the money goes back to Spotify, and they pay you pennies on the dollar. And that's why so many musicians are forced to go back out on the road and rely on merch and concerts.
Ken, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, you really did. For instance, there's no automatic, like, for these for the guys in bands or the guys that have been playing. Everybody needs health insurance. It's not supplied by, the record labels or anything like that. Not that I'm aware of. So, you got to pay for all that. Guys are getting older, and like you're saying, the money stream is not the same as it was. It doesn't resemble it at all.
Right.
So now that's why you do see a lot of bands, but they also do want to get out and play because they're proud. If everybody else is doing it, why not, join the club? But that's how you make your money, though. I mean, to sell what? Sell albums at a store or CDs? Where do you find that outlet anymore?
Well, it's available on Amazon if you want to drop $21. But people are going to go, why should I do that when I can go to one of the streaming sites? And I'm not going to name them right now because now I'm pissed.
No,
but I wanted to bring this quote up to you that I got from Pete Townsend back in 2006. The music is kept young by the audience, not the performers. And I totally buy into that. I think that the reason why we've been talking about What I Like About You, talking in your sleep, the generations, the new interest in the newest generation in What I Like About You leads them to Talking in Your Sleep, leads them to the backstory of the Romantics, and they fall in love with it all over again. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree. Our work was done when we came up with the idea for the songs, and if you want to pinpoint What I Like About You, I mean, we went in there, we did our work, we made it as best as possible, and so, and that's something that's going to be there for eternity now. Way past once we're not here,
right?
That song will still be there. So it's a part of our culture right now, and it's just different how you said it before, where bands have to go out in order to make a living
to
and
exist. At 65, 66, not us, of course, but
not
I'm
an
talking about
easy
the
thing
older
to do,
bands.
Look
at Paul McCartney, 4?
and he sounds great.
He sounds fabulous, and he's managed to stay young. But look at him.
Yeah.
He is forced to go out and do the concerts and sell the merch.
Yeah.
And I saw where Seeger's about to do his final tour, and they put together a beautiful graphic on that. And I don't blame him. He's 73 years old.
But
your
Ken,
thoughts? Yeah?
You know how those final tours go.
Oh, I know. It's so funny you would ask.
Final tour for now.
It's kind of like we were so re-energized. It was so
by the
strong
response of the people
that we decided we may do it again in 2020.
just to see,
Well,
just to make sure that it wasn't a fluke.
I have a couple of final questions for you. So you're still happy doing what you're doing?
Yes.
Band gets along well.
Yes.
You've had your ups, you've had your downs.
Sure.
Bands are like a sexless marriage, don't you think?
Absolutely.
They're relationships. You spend sometimes more time with the band than you do your own wife or family.
In order to get, you have to be that devoted to it, and everyone has to have the same focus, the same goal, so you all have to be on the same page, and it's just a group thing. If you are a group, if you are a band,
Right.
of the 4 or 5 guys, or whatever, but you have to have that same goal in mind, and you have to work really hard at accomplishing it, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
You owe it to yourself. But then that's like anything else, though, isn't it?
It is. You bet. Marriage is a lot of hard work, but it's worth it at the end of the day.
Sure, absolutely.
It sure is. All right, final question, and then I'm going to make you do something that you probably won't do, but I'm going to see if I can get you to do it. If you weren't a musician, I'm not being Barbara Walters, but just being a blue-collar, lunch bucket kind of guy like me, who got lucky but really knew what they wanted to do and worked really hard to get there, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't playing music,
Yeah.
I would have to think that if I got a taste of it, I would want to be doing something music related.
Okay.
I'm not funny enough to be a comedian.
But you like comedy?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact, yes. Yeah, I like this guy named Tim Allen, too. He's really
right. Tim Allen's going to be on the show. He's going to be on the show tomorrow.
And he used to be a neighbor anyways, right?
Yeah, right. Still is. He's still got the house.
Yeah, does he take Uber to come over here, too?
Yeah, right. He used to ride some little mini bikes or whatever the heck somebody would give him. He's way beyond our pay grade,
No,
though.
I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I haven't really thought of that hard of what I'd want to do. I mean, I love art. I love
Oh, I know you like
gardening.
You want to see this guy's house, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
I should have brought you over some of these peppers that I've got this year. Good crop.
There you go. There you go.
Are you into spice?
I love spice.
Oh, really?
Very much so.
Then come over, or I'll drop some off for you.
Yeah.
But be careful, please.
Have you had a good time?
I've had a
Is it
great
all right?
time, yeah.
Do me a favor. Where's that guitar? Where's that acoustic guitar? All right. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something.
Oh,
You tuned it. It didn't already come out of tune.
Yeah, it did.
It sounds fine to me. Yeah, that sounds fine, man.
Now it's in tune.
My final request is for you to do what I like about you, unplugged, acoustically, from the cozy studios of WKEN.
What I like about you, you hold me tight. Tell me I'm the only one wanna come over tonight. Yeah, keep on whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear, 'cause it's true. So what I like about you. Short version.
Gold, Jerry. Gold. That was great. Thank you, bro.
It's just,
Final thoughts.
Yep.
Happy with the state of music right now?
The state of music.
Right now, what's going on in rock and roll?
All I can tell you is that there's some good stuff out there. If someone were to ask me what I listen to
Yeah?
get inspired,
Yeah.
there's only a few good stations that I can listen to for good new music, and one happens to be actually Little Steven's station.
Oh, great. Underground
it's a great
Garage, you
station,
bet. Sure it is.
because it reminds me of like old ABX
Yeah,
stuff
yep.
where they can talk. He's got like Kid Leo. Some of these guys will tell
Yeah.
stories and stuff.
Oh, I
in
remember
between,
back when they was talking about...
Right. So I listen to that, but I always, my go-to stuff is things that I grew up with. Back to the Beatles, the Stones, and
Yeah.
Kings, because you can never, you always learn whenever you listen to them.
Yeah.
You think you know everything about all those songs and stuff, but you listen to them every time you hear something different in them.
I'll tell you this, and we'll end with this too, because I was reading today. I'm a freak for this day in history in rock and roll. On this day in rock and roll, the Beatles wrapped it up at Abbey Road with doing a birthday, and they needed hand clappers, and sure enough, they got some roadies to come in and do the, And I didn't know that Yoko Ono sang backing vocals on Birthday.
I didn't know that.
No, well, you do now. And if I read it, it has to be true, right? Thanks, bro.
You're very welcome, Ken. Thanks for having me.
When do I get the peppers? For being a guest.
We can go. I can bring them back in a couple minutes. Actually, wait. I have to wait for my Uber, or just come in my backyard with me.
All right, I'll walk down with you right now.
That's fine.
Thanks for joining us on the Ken Calvert Show podcast, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert along with Wally Palmer. See you next time, eh?
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.